Hello there. My name is Adel Felisi and I am an independent consultant and founder of Finsights Consultancy, a Microsoft AI Cloud partner. I am Microsoft certified expert in business application and Microsoft Catalyst accredited with more than 17 years of experience supporting organizations with their digital transformation projects and programs. Today I'm going to present the introduction part of Finsight's digital transformation series. The intro session titled Digital Transformation Done Right, A Practical Guide to Success will provide you with Microsoft and Finsight's guidance and best practices to enable your organizations realize value faster and ensure return on investment. The presentation content is split into two main parts. The first part discusses the reasons digital transformation projects fail, starting with a brief explanation of what is and what is not digital transformation, the failure rate and reasons, and closing off the first part with the impact failed transformation project can have on organizations. The second part provides the Microsoft and Finsights guidance and best practices to address digital transformation challenges, starting with the Finsights framework. The framework is a mixture of best practices from Microsoft Catalyst, Success by Design, and leading IT research companies such as Gartner and Forrester. We will close off the second part with the impact the framework can have on your organization. Finally, we finish the presentation with closing notes including recommended readings as well as what to expect in the next Finsights series session. So why do digital transformation projects fail? The first step to understand why these failures occur is to understand what is and what is not digital transformation. Microsoft is probably the best definition I came across. It describes it as reimagining your business processes, data, and people and how they work together. This is quite significant change. And with the continuous rise of the cloud paradigm shift, including infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service in the past 2 decades, the use of tech has completely changed how businesses can operate and gain competitive advantage with the cloud. The other standout definition is McKinsey, describing it as the rewiring of the organization. I like this definition because it suggests a deep change within an organization, like the rewiring of electricity and internet cables, or even water pipes in a city. That would be quite a significant change. Gardner, on the other hand, provided a description and attempted to clarify a misconception around digital transformation and to bring to life their emphasis on digitization versus digital transformation. Let us review an example that is familiar. Amazon started with digitizing their book product catalog, lifting and shifting their analog or physical data into digital format, while their digital transformation involved strategic shift like expanding their product offering. If we can sell book online, well, we can sell anything. They also shifted to decentralized teams and operations to enable innovation and efficiencies for faster delivery and better customer experience. And finally, revolutionizing the cloud infrastructure market with AWS. And there are plenty of other definitions, but in summary, the reimagining and rewiring of a town electricity and internet cables and Amazon example gives us an overall understanding of what is and what is not digital transformation. Now that we have a general understanding, let's have a look at the different components that forms a typical digital transformation program. To simplify the description of the component, let us categorize them into buckets. Number 1 is strategy, number 2 is outcome, and 3 is delivery. The first one is related to the strategy, where you define the goal of the program. Classic examples are increase revenue, reduce costs, etc. And what strategy to use to achieve the goal, like improve customer experience and increase employee productivity. The second bucket is the outcome of the project, where you identify what it will take to help you achieve your goals and strategy. For example, provide your employees with a complete picture of your customer or improve cross-functional collaboration for better customer experience. There are a lot of organizations where the transition between teams is not seamless and lead to suboptimal customer experience, like not providing enough information to onboard customer, causing unnecessary delays. The third bucket involves the delivery aspect of the project. Things like processes, data, people, governance, and these are the enablers of the transformation and change supported by guiding principle to maximize success. There is a lot of moving components in digital transformation. They all have to fall together to support a successful delivery. However, each of these components is a field on its own right. You can write books and have dedicated sessions just to tackle each bucket or component, and you will also have a lot of content online, which can be overwhelming to say the least. And when you start looking at the staggering high failure rate, 70 to 95% is extremely high. It shows that a lot of organizations simply underestimate the significance and scale of the challenge and its complexity. And there are many reasons for it. First is the diverse domain of expertise required to achieve success. Let's go through example using the three buckets. For the enablers and guiding principle bucket, developers involved in digital transformation might not be familiar with the SaaS product configuration approach, where using off-the-shelf feature is the preferred approach to realize value faster. I've experienced this firsthand in a multi-year digital transformation program by a large education institution, where investment in student experience was significant, but the approach to SaaS product was not well understood due to the lack of upskilling of internal resources. There were many requirement tickets where the out-of-the-box features fields were the best option, but the traditional way of developing software made internal development resources complicate tickets. Again, another example for the enablers bucket, when it comes to delivery methodologies, the agile confusion is way too common. There are many organizations that half-heartedly move to agile while keeping the same mindset used in waterfall. The most memorable example is when I worked in an organization where they were using both waterfall style governance and agile delivery, making the roles and responsibility of the project manager, scrum master, and business analyst very convoluted, which made accountability a significant issue and made delivery difficult. This had a significant impact managing the project, without mentioning the strategy bucket, where the business stakeholders solutioning the requirement and scope creep issues are classic. There's also a very high dependency between the buckets that can have a knock-on effect on each other. For example, badly formulated requirements like solutioning, so I want to add field X on form A, will lead to poorly designed solutions that are not linked to business processes and really fail to reimagine how to complete the new process using dynamic sales features, for example. And this creates friction between different delivery functions. I've worked in a project where the requirement was to add a continent field to the form. And I asked, why do you need that? And the customer said, we have it in our existing system. I then asked again, what do you do with it? Well, we need to assess our impact on different continents. I said, do you have a country field? And they said, yes. I asked that they can report on continent using the country field. They pushed back and said, no. We always done it this way. I said, okay, can you please find out the completeness rate of the continent and country field? And they found it was only 30% for continent and over 80% for country had data. I said, look, with our proposed solution, you will reduce the manual work and have more complete reporting. They went with it at the end. Cross-functional collaboration can be a significant issue, and I'm referring here to internal politics between, for example, marketing and sales, where discussing the handover between teams in this example lead to opportunity, differing recommendations are put forward, and each side feels that the other side is dictating how things should work, which can be difficult and awkward to handle, but there are techniques to smooth the conversation. Another significant reason is resourcing and budgeting issues. So you see, many times I have seen significant investment in partners with dedicated external resources to achieve the project, while internal resources across the pocket is not dedicated to a special initiative and shared across BAU, business as usual, and other projects, creating an imbalance to delivery, resulting in rushing with tactical solutions and losing budget for unused and expensive external resources. And also failing to develop enterprise solution results in complex and costly integration, leading to unwise investment that are costly in the long run. The example of solutioning from the business, like picking up the tool they want to use in isolation, i.e. not considering enterprise factor or impact on other teams, can be costly for an organization. And poorly managing stakeholder expectation is usually due to a bad start with a lot of rushed promises due to the lack of understanding on what it takes to achieve true transformation. With the cloud computing power and modular services, the change pace in tech has increased dramatically. I have been in a fundraising project where their whole solution was based on a Microsoft nonprofit accelerator, which was significantly delayed due to COVID and various stop and start. And by the time I joined the project, Microsoft released Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit, which made all the custom development to the accelerator redundant and not a strategic option. However, it was not easy to sell that to the board due to the significant delays and spent on the project. They did go with the Microsoft Cloud for Nonprofit after explaining that the solution requires very little development and mainly configuration and is a wiser investment in the long run. Another client of mine had a 10-year digital transformation program, but there was a senior leadership revamp after 5 years, leading to a complete change of strategy impacting the transformation roadmap. And the list goes on, but when you look at it from your own angle, whichever bucket you sit in, there are always two areas. You have an area of control and an area of influence, meaning that the success is not entirely in your hand or down to a specific team, especially when you look at areas of influence where your influence for change feels intrusive, making it very complex endeavor. And the impact is not pleasant at all. With all the reasons mentioned, a lot of organizations start to scale back and use tactical solutions, and move to lift and shift, paying higher licenses fees while failing to utilize the out-of-the-box features and value add of SaaS products. This makes the senior leadership nervous to invest further on the initiative, and every penny becomes an uncomfortable conversation or battle. The blame game then starts, and there is no wrong or right, just a very difficult spot to get out of. And other impacts are confusion on what next and why do we need to change anyway, since we end up in this situation where there is more conflict internally and therefore we were better off not transforming in the first place. So, how do we fix all this mess? Well, there are a lot of things to consider and get right, but recognizing and organizing your transformation core component is the first step. And this is where the Finsights framework brings everything together. You always start with the why, and most companies want to grow their impact, whether non-profit or for-profit. You always find that increasing revenue and reducing costs are one of the most contributing factors to growth and expand your business reach. For example, I worked for a non-profit company that was measuring impact by revenue, although the money was reinvested. So this is just to emphasize that revenue is not only show me the money game. Next is to be clear about the what, where customers and employees are at the heart of an organization, business, and transformation success. Famous quotes from the world's finest entrepreneur like Jeff Bezos: "You start with the customer and work backwards," or Sir Richard Branson: "If you treat your employee right, they will treat your customer right." This is instrumental to getting business decision makers buy-in and critical part of your journey to success. And there are a lot of tactics to help you achieve customer and employee success, like empowering your employee with a full picture of your customer, better use of data to enhance decision making, democratizing innovation, amongst other things. And it does feel like a buzzword party slide, but in all honesty, these things matter. Last but not least is the how. This is where you look at the 5 enablers and guiding principles to navigate the transformation challenges, and here are a few examples. When you are looking at processes, make sure you are considering an outside-in perspective. This will shift the conversation from what is important to us to what is important to our customers and put customers at the center of the conversation. Fit to standard is key when you are deploying a SaaS product. A key aspect to achieve your return on investment now and in the future is to leverage on the out-of-the-box features. The number of times I've seen Dynamics 365 being butchered is frustrating just mentioning it. Next is the people aspect. This is probably the least predictable one. You can have all the right guidance in place, but people are simply unpredictable. But you can have steps such as having a clear RACI. Responsible, accountable, consult and inform are very useful and a big contributor to a good start to a project. And if you start well, usually you end well. You will also be surprised on how many people do not fully understand what it is expected of them in a project. And this is related to the shared resources issue I mentioned earlier, where people have a day job too. On the people aspect, you need to move from a change plan to culture shift. It is no longer sufficient to have just a change plan. A culture shift will make your people embrace change constantly. There was a Gartner survey about employee fatigue from change. Well, with AI on the block, you are up for a lot of change. And this is where you need to change your mindset and make change part of your DNA. Then you look at data quality that is often neglected in your transformation project, but so crucial. Governance is also key. Phasing your transformation and managing scope MVP and having a clear delivery methodology and RACI are essential. I worked on a project where there were plenty of resources, but it was simply unorganized. So having resources is not enough. It is also how you govern your overall transformation program. And technology is right at the end, not because it's not important, it is holding the whole thing together. It is the foundation of your success, but you need to first define the building blocks for the technology to work. And I think this is where other Microsoft CRM competitors have been doing well. I've spent 2 years in a major Microsoft CRM competitor ecosystem, and technology was the last thing they focused on. And they engage really well with decision makers, but having used the technology, I think it is massively overrated. Another interesting stats by major IT research companies shows that 30% of digital transformation success is down to technology, and 70% is down to reimagining business processes, change management, and solution strategy, i.e. the building block of the transformation. So to conclude this slide, for the why and the what, Microsoft have the Catalyst approach, and for the how, they have the SPD approach, and for the tech stack, there is plenty, but in BizApps context, you have D365, Power Platform, and DevOps for delivery. And the reason Microsoft and other companies provide guidance and best practice is a recognition of the scale and complexity of digital transformation program. So, the two main Microsoft guidance and best practices are Catalyst and SBD. And these approaches will cement the building blocks of organization digital transformation initiatives. Let's start with the Catalyst. If done right, will give you a good start to your transformation. It tackles the core question of how is this important to my business, using human-centered design approach. The second part is the viability of the transformation. tackling the key question, what is the impact on my business? And it is really the numbers games around return on investment, etc. And finally, once you get past desirability and viability, you start to address the feasibility, covering the question of what solution can be implemented to enable that scenario. A lot of organizations miss the desirability piece, which increases success rate by 9 times according to Microsoft. The SBD framework deals with D365 implementation, but can also be tuned down to Power Apps solution. There are guidance on the Power Apps development in the Microsoft Learn website. SBD was developed by the Microsoft Fast Track team, and its guidance is gold in terms of achieving success. When you look at it at a top level, there are 3 key principles that I've been using with all my projects. First is the early detection. Essentially, you will have a checklist of things to look out for and bring up. I've seen a lot of projects that bring up issues too late in the day and have catastrophic impact on the project. And most of the time, you know fairly early about these issues, like the wrong resourcing of the project, for example. What I always tell stakeholders I work with is that sooner or later these issues need to be discussed. They are not pleasant and sometimes pushed forward with the hope of some miracle occurring. The second principle is proactive guidance. We will touch on this on the next slides, but as I mentioned earlier, it is a checklist that makes you go through data model, licensing, application lifecycle management, so that you are prepared for all elements involved in Microsoft Business Application implementation. Predictive success is down to the early detection and proactive guidance. If you know what you are doing and it has been done in the past, then your chances of success are higher. These 2 frameworks feed each other. For example, Catalyst will provide a breakdown of the project and MVPs to fast-track route to value. But any changes of direction due to project execution may influence the roadmap, sequencing, or speeding. For example, I had a project where scaling the solution was a major barrier. Therefore, a fixing project needed to be implemented first before continuing the digital journey. The Catalyst framework is conducted in 4 stages over approximately a 10-week period. We will go through each stage and cover the key activities and outcome. And this is not meant to be an exhaustive list. I have done the Microsoft Catalyst accreditation and there is a lot to learn. The first step in the Catalyst approach is the Inspire, where you align the digital transformation journey with the business strategy. There are a series of activities and artifacts that needs producing. The Inspire activities involves aligning representatives from all levels, but BDMs, business decision makers, are critical to ensure decisions can be made. You will prepare for the envisioning workshop using interviews and observation techniques. The preps of the workshops are instrumental for the productivity of the workshop, so make sure you don't rush that exercise. You will then conduct 1-day envisioning workshop if on-site. Otherwise, multiple sessions are preferred if the workshop is online. You will use design thinking techniques such as creativity metrics, where how might we questions are asked. The outcome will be either journey maps, day in life, or personas. I've done this with the UK Innovation Agency, and it is valuable artifacts to have almost a foundational way to interact with your customers and internal users. Other outcomes from the workshop include formulating problem or vision statement, storyboarding the future state, and prioritization that is achieved using importance difficulty metric technique. This is very important contributing step to desirability. The next step is the design that involves business value assessment and solution assessment artifact, probably the most demanding step. The biz value workshops are intended to elevate the conversation from functional focus of the solution to financial value. This is critical to resonate with senior leadership and secure BDM's sponsorship. The outcome of the business value assessment are business value map, financial returns such as NPV, and investment details such as licenses. and start to get stakeholders understand the magnitude of the challenge, both financially and impact on their time. The solution assessment is tightly linked to the business value assessment, where after you articulated the business and financial value, to move swiftly into connecting the goals and strategies to functional capabilities of the solution, essentially the feasibility part. This exercise involves tailoring current to future state journey and map out the out-of-the-box features with the solution while identifying the required bespoke solution. The outcome of the solution assessment is a phased solution roadmap that includes the future state, incremental value timeline, and budget. To summarize, the BIS value tackles the viability of the transformation and the solution assessment tackles the feasibility of the project. The first two steps are the hardest and most exciting. They will help you achieve the catalyst triangle and set you up for the empower and achieve steps. For the empower, you need to review the inspire and design key artifacts and prepare for a customer-centric demo. The structure should follow the narrative of challenge, solution, benefit. And never underestimate the power of rehearsal. If you work for a partner, I would highly recommend the CDX, Customer Digital Experience Platform. What good looks like when coming out of this stage is having delivered persona-driven demo, high-level validation of the solution with the stakeholders, with the cherry on the cake of the increased alignment and enthusiasm. And finally achieve, which brings together all the catalyst approach hard work. Things to ensure are the clarity on the expected outcome, the scale, the scope, and the complexity of the transformation, and start the readiness activities. The outcome of the catalyst approach is a comprehensive proposal, a commitment to resourcing and financial backing, and get ready to start the execution part. The catalyst, if done right, can provide solid foundation to execute the digital transformation program. However, I have worked in many projects where the execution goes really wrong, which has a negative impact on the roadmap. I worked on a customer service transformation project where the catalyst roadmap was good, but because the implementation was heavily customized, in this example, the case routing was all custom workflows, and the unified routing was not configured properly. This has led the second project in the roadmap that involved scaling to other departments to halt, as the custom routing made the scaling complex and there was a need to switch to the unified routing feature to enable easier scaling. Going back to the SBD, this is really gold in terms of guidelines. The SBD book is 742 pages long, but in a nutshell, you have to go through 4 stages and ensure key artifacts are produced with the support of the relevant stakeholders. SBD also uses a series of workshops to ensure close collaboration between business stakeholders and the delivery team, including the PM and IT. So we take a few examples of key workshops and artifacts. Solution Blueprint Review is the most important document as it includes all the relevant information to execute the project, but it can be used as a reference on the digital transformation roadmap. Application Lifecycle Management Workshop is another example. You can find in GitHub all the templates to use for the workshops, and they are very useful starting point to facilitate the workshops and gather the relevant information to produce the SBD artifacts to deliver the project. All these workshops and artifacts are the conduit for proactive guidance and early detection to achieve predictable success. The 4 stages provide you with the proactive guidance principle in the SBD triangle. The success measure metrics provide you with the early detection principle. Notable example is identifying architecture complexities early on or assessing resourcing competency for upskilling, etc. This is a valuable artifact to give you a snapshot on the health of the project and one of my favorite SBD artifacts. The Microsoft Catalyst and SBD are guidance that you need to tailor for your specific programs, but if done right, they really move the needle from cost-based investment to value-based investment. We talked about how the Catalyst design stage practical guidance can help you change the conversation from cost to return. The second is again related to Catalyst, where you start to switch the conversation from what is important to us to what is important to our customers, period. The third aspect is how you make the top-down approach understood by the user by involving them in producing the priorities and difficulties of the transformation. The Catalyst and SBD guidance involve the users at every stage of the transformation. We discuss how the SBD workshop can help you achieve continuous alignment between the business and the project management and the IT delivery teams. Resourcing is where a lot of the times things go wrong, with the shared resourcing model that is necessary but creates an imbalance in the delivery. The emphasis here is that transformation resourcing should not happen with IT and third parties, but also with the business. Shared resourcing planning is fundamental to your transformation success. Finally, if the roadmap is well understood and developed by the whole organization, trust starts to become a norm, and business stakeholders will not scope creep as they understand that their requirements will be delivered in a phased approach. I have put together a list of things to dive into. They are all useful resources and will provide you with more detailed guidance on your transformation initiatives. Next in the Finsights series is to look at reimagining processes for successful transformation. So every subsequent session of the series is to zoom in at each component of the digital transformation, as it is practically impossible to cover it all in one session. And as closing note, digital transformation is complex and requires a lot of discipline. However, the people element will always make it a very unpredictable endeavor. So the session aimed to help you increase the success of your transformation, but also make you realize that a lot of things have to fall into place for it to be a success, and empowering people is the most important factor. Thank you, and all the best with your transformation journey.